In the ancient realm of Lupinia, where towering forests whispered secrets to the moon and packs roamed under the silver glow of eternal nights, there ruled the formidable Alpha King, Thorn Blackwood, a wolf of unmatched strength and unyielding command whose very presence could shatter mountains and bend the will of lesser beings. His fur as dark as midnight shadows and his eyes piercing like forged steel, yet beneath that iron exterior lay a heart fractured by the cruel hand of fate, for his beloved cub, little Prince Elias, barely 5 winters old, had been stricken by a mysterious affliction that no healer in the land could fathom, a curse whispered to have been born from the envy of ancient spirits or perhaps the dark sorcery of rival packs lurking in the misty borders, leaving the young pup weak and feverish, his tiny body racked with pains that twisted his innocent features into masks of agony, his once playful howls reduced to whimpers that echoed through the grand halls of the Blackwood Citadel like ghosts in the wind, and as the days turned to moons, the Alpha King's desperation grew like a storm cloud over the kingdom, summoning every healer, shaman, and mystic from the farthest reaches of Lupinia and beyond, 1,000 of them in total, each promising miracles with their potions of rare herbs gathered from forbidden groves, incantations chanted under blood moons, and rituals involving the bones of ancient wolves, but one by one they failed, their efforts crumbling like dry leaves underfoot, some claiming the curse was too deep-rooted in the cub's bloodline, others fleeing in terror when their spells backfired and shadows danced unnaturally in the royal chambers, leaving Thorn to roar in fury at the heavens, his claws raking deep gouges into the stone floors as he watched his only heir, the future of his legacy, slip closer to the veil between worlds, the pack elders murmuring in hushed tones that without a cure, the throne would fall to chaos and rival alphas would tear the kingdom asunder, yet in the shadowed underbelly of the realm, far from the opulent citadel in a humble village nestled at the edge of the Whispering Woods, lived a poor Omega girl named Lyra Silverpaw, barely 19, with hair like cascading moonlight and eyes the color of storm-tossed seas, an outcast among her kind for her low rank and mysterious origins, abandoned as a pup and raised by a kindly herbalist who taught her the forgotten arts of nature's healing, not through grand spells or costly elixirs but through the gentle touch of empathy and the innate bond that all living things shared, her life one of quiet struggle, foraging for scraps in the markets where higher ranks sneered at her tattered clothes and bare feet, whispering that Omegas like her were weak, destined only to serve and never to rise, but Lyra harbored a secret gift, a rare affinity for the life force that pulsed through every creature, allowing her to sense ailments as if they were threads in a vast tapestry, mending them with nothing more than her presence and a whisper of intent, a power she kept hidden for fear of being labeled a witch or worse, exploited by those in power, yet whispers of the cub's plight reached even her remote corner, carried on the wings of traveling merchants who spoke of the Alpha King's bounties offered to any who could save his son, gold mountains and lands beyond dreaming, though Lyra knew better than to dream of such things, for what place did a lowly Omega have in the royal court, but fate, that capricious weaver, had other plans, as one fateful dawn when the first snows dusted the ground like powdered stars, Lyra found herself drawn to the citadel by an inexplicable pull, a vision in her dreams of a suffering pup calling out to her across the void, his eyes mirroring her own loneliness, and so with nothing but a satchel of wildflowers and herbs, she ventured forth, braving the guarded paths where betas patrolled with bared fangs, her heart pounding like thunder as she approached the massive gates carved from obsidian and silver, the guards laughing at first sight of her ragged form. "What business does a flea-bitten Omega have here, girl? Be gone before we chase you off like the stray you are." But Lyra stood firm, her voice steady despite the tremble in her limbs. "I come for the cub, I can heal him where others have failed," words that sparked ridicule until one elder, weary from the endless parade of charlatans, decided to let her through if only to amuse the court or perhaps in a flicker of desperate hope, escorting her into the grand throne room where Alpha King Thorn sat brooding on his throne of intertwined antlers and pelts, his massive frame exuding an aura of raw power that made the air thick with dominance, his gaze locking onto Lyra like a predator sizing up prey. "You, a mere Omega pup, thinks she can succeed where 1,000 masters have faltered. Speak quickly, or I'll have you thrown to the wolves." But Lyra, undeterred by his growl that shook the chandeliers, met his eyes with a quiet defiance born of her hidden strength. "I ask nothing in return but a chance, my lord, for I feel his pain as my own," and something in her sincerity pierced the Alpha's armor, perhaps the raw vulnerability in her scent or the way her presence seemed to calm the stormy energy in the room, granting her access to the cub's chamber where little Elias lay pale and still on a bed of silken furs, surrounded by the remnants of failed cures, shattered vials, burned talismans, and the faint scent of despair. The healers guild watching with skeptical eyes as Lyra approached, her bare feet silent on the cold marble, kneeling beside the pup and placing a gentle hand on his fevered brow, closing her eyes as she delved into the invisible web of life forces, sensing the curse not as a malevolent spell but as a tangled knot in his spirit, born from a forgotten trauma in the Alpha's bloodline, a shadow of loss from Thorn's own past when his mate had perished in a brutal raid, passing a fragment of unbroken grief to their son, and with a soft hum that resonated like the wind through ancient trees, Lyra unraveled it, her Omega essence, pure and untainted by ambition, acting as the key to unlock the healing, pouring her own light into the void, and in an instant, color flushed back into Elias's cheeks, his eyes fluttering open with a gasp, the fever breaking like a dam under sunlight, his tiny voice croaking, "Papa." As he sat up, whole and vibrant, the room erupting in gasps and murmurs, the healers, jaws dropping in disbelief as the cub bounded from the bed, playful once more, hugging Lyra's legs with innocent joy, "Thank you, pretty lady." While Alpha Thorn stormed in at the commotion, his eyes widening at the miracle before him, the impossible made real by this unassuming girl, his voice a thunderous whisper, how did you do this?" And Lyra, rising with humility, replied, "It was not magic, my king, but connection, the heart knows paths that spells forget," sparking a fire in Thorn's soul, for in her he saw not just a savior but a mate destined by the stars, her scent now intertwining with his in ways that stirred his wolf to claim her. But Lyra, ever the outcast, backed away. "I am but a poor Omega, unworthy of your court," yet the Alpha King, transformed by gratitude and an emerging love, declared before the assembly